to pick a Scotch from an Irish from a bourbon just by sniffing. Hi, my name's Rebecca Dunphy with a sniffer's guide to Scotch, Irish and bourbon. Now here are a few tips to heighten your senses. First of all, you need to swirl the glass to lift the aromas. And obviously be careful because the high levels of alcohol can anaesthetise or numb the nose. So try not to sniff too much. The next thing we often do is we add a little bit of water, like that. And it just dilutes the whiskey a little so that it brings the whiskey down to an alcohol where your senses can really work at their optimum. This should open it up a little bit. Wow, really makes a difference. So how do we pick out one from the other just with a sniff? Now, before I've even tasted this whiskey, which is a Laphroaig, this is an Islay malt, you get a peaty reek. Now, Laphroaig has got particularly strong smell of smoke and peat because they use the maritime peat from the island to furnace the boilers when they're malting the barley grain. The barley grain is soaked in water, then it's dried on the malt floorings, and they use the furnaces underneath the malt floorings to dry out and halt the germination of the barley malt. And it imparts the flavour of the peat smoke. So this is the hallmark of a Scottish malt whisky. Now, if you like medicinal characters like TCP or bonfire smoke or lapsang souchong, you'll really love a whisky like this. Now, if we go on to an Irish whisky, you won't pick up any of that peaty reek. It's plummy and fruity and honeyed. It's got a bit of a resin character to it and a hint of sherry. They actually use sherry cask in the aging of this, and a bit of bourbon too. There's some sweetness there. Almost a bit linseedy too, but there's not a hint of that smoke, and that means it cannot be a Scottish malt. It's got to be Irish. Last but not least, we've got the Woodford Reserve Bourbon. Beautiful amber colour. This is sweet and perfumed with lovely sort of vanilla and ripe banana. Now, by law, it has to be made predominantly from sweet corn, so you get more of a sweet nose coming through. Also, by law, it has to be aged for a minimum of 3 years, but in new American charred oak, and this gives it a lovely caramel sweet character. If we look at this here, this is what the distillate would look like before it's put into the charred oak casks. So let's have another sniff. Almost pick up sort of fudge and brown sugar as well. It's smoky and charred. But again, there isn't that peaty reek, and it's much more perfumed and sweet than an Irish whisky. This is a benchmark bourbon. Enjoy your whisky, even if you're only sniffing.